What it do, everybody? It's your favorite Crew Excellence member, Justin Strickland, the hostess with the mostest, and I'm back with another episode of the Ladder Podcast. Oh man, we are so excited to still be on this journey with you all as you move towards excellence. Hey, if you didn't see last week's episode, it was fire. Wifey came through. She dropped tons of knowledge, graced us with her presence, and it was one of my favorite episodes. You know what I'm saying? I'm a little biased, but I hope you enjoyed last week, and I know you're going to enjoy this week because we got a banger. So first things first, if you're watching this episode, you are now officially part of the crew. Welcome to Crew Excellence. We're excited to have you as our membership is growing daily, all right? So all we doing is we part of the crew is we chasing excellence, whatever area and realm of life that may be for you. We are walking towards being our best self. And since you're here today, I hope that you can learn something, that you can take something, and that you can apply it to your life. This is a leadership podcast. And so just before you tune out, right, you might be saying, I ain't a leader. I don't have no title or no job. We all are leaders. We all have some kind of responsibility and capacity to lead. So yes, you are a leader, and this is the podcast for you. Today's topic, hey, I was thinking about, man, I've seen a lot of stuff popping off on social media and things like that. And I was like, man, it's really hard to be a leader today. Like, social media and television and entertainment has really transgressed and transformed what leadership is and what it looks like. And specifically in our context, I am an American. Shout out to all my international people watching in, tuning in, especially in an American context. Leadership is really different now than it's ever been in history. And so first I want to talk about some of the things leadership was, what it used to be, how it used to be talked about, and how we discussed it then and how we look back and discuss our leaders now. And so leadership has always been, the things talked about in history books, right? You read about the presidents. You read about the CEOs, the military generals. You read about those humanitarians and famous sailors and leaders have always been discussed because the philosophers, we've always talked about what leaders in history have changed it. What leaders have existed, what leaders have done throughout history. That's always been discussed. It's always been the topic of importance. And I think a lot of it has to do with human nature. We are tribal by nature. And one of the things that happens with people that are tribal, with humans because we are tribal, is we're often looking for a tribal leader. That is a natural thing that happens, no matter if you're talking about Americans in 2024 to East Africans in the 1400s. We are always looking for someone to take the lead and to take some decision-making responsibility from the masses. That is a natural thing that we've always looked for and has always happened. One of the things that's so interesting, though, as we look back in history is many times when we talk about leaders in history, it's not only the leaders that stepped up that talked about. We almost exclusively talk about the leaders who won. If that's a military conquest, if that's CEOs who beat out the competition, if that's the chief who won the village or whatever, we almost only exclusively talk about leaders who win. And what happens is, because we're only talking about the leaders who win, they get to dictate the story that is told, okay? The reason that's important in history is when we look back, when we read the books, when we read the biographies and stories about these historical men and women, they're almost exclusively painted in a positive light. And so, perfect example I think about all the time is our founding fathers in America, right? These old white men who founded the country. At the time, and for probably 90% of modern American history, these men have been viewed in an exclusively positive light. They were geniuses. They were brave. They were courageous. They were forward thinking. They were equal-minded, right? All of these things that were taught to us in schools from a very early age. It wasn't probably until the last 20 or 30 years where we was like, wait a minute. If he was so equal-minded, how you own slaves, right? Like, what you mean he was so forward-thinking, but he thought this and this. Like we look back and we and the thing that's so interesting, we've always had this information, but we've never thought of it as valid or as important to the character arc of these leaders. And so because we thought of them exclusively in a positive light, the other things that necessarily didn't line up with that, we just didn't spend any time on. But now more than ever, we look back and we challenge who these leaders were at that time, and we look at them with a modern lens, and we say, wait a minute, yes, they did these things that were incredible, but they also had these flaws. They also had these blind spots. And what's so intriguing is at no point in history were those were blind spots, flaws, nearly as important as the strengths. And so what I mean by that is, you could lead a country and be a bigot. You could lead a country and be an alcoholic. You could lead a country and be misogynistic. Like you could lead the globe and have obvious flaws and blind spots as long as you were really good at what you did. As long as whatever you did, whether it be being an athlete or being a political leader or being a war general or being a entertainer, like the entire blues era, right? When we think about the blues, a lot of people don't realize like one of the reasons that the blues has this kind of negative connotation is a lot of the blues artists were on drugs. Like they were on cocaine, they were on heroin, they were strung out and making great music. But what that allowed is they still traveled the country. They still found great wealth. They just died. A lot of them died in poverty because they spent their money on drugs. But their fame, their celebrity was never challenged. Their identity as someone who is incredible or as a leader in a given field was never challenged by the masses because they were really good at what they did. And so for most of history, leaders have been judged by what they do. Like, are you doing something that is world changing or life changing or society changing? If the answer is yes, that's the only thing that matters. And so it's so interesting how in a modern history, that is not what we think about leadership. That is not how we approach leaders. And one of the things that's so I love reading books about leadership and content and really I'm in this space. And so I'm always trying to learn and grow. It's like the things that morality was not important as far as leadership was concerned in history. Transparency was not important. Nobody needed to know what you had going on at home. There are so many men that were abusive fathers, husbands that we write in history books about, right? There's so many women that were scandalous, to say. I like that word. My mom liked that word a lot too. Scandalous to say, you know what I'm saying, that we write about in history books. There's so many people that they kept their personal lives completely separate from their field of leadership, and personal lives really didn't matter at all. And so that idea, and some of you as I'm speaking are like, whoa, no, that stuff absolutely matters. And a lot of that is because we live today. And so social media even more. So it starts with modern media really changes leadership. And what I mean by that is the ability to take pictures of people and put that in newspapers really starts to shift how we view leaders. Like, you can get caught at the speakeasy. You can get caught at the prostitute house. You can get caught, you know what I'm saying, in the wrong spot at the wrong time. And we see you. It ain't he say, she say, we see you there, right? Same thing happened with the invention of television, right? One of the things that people don't talk about a lot during the civil rights movement is a lot of the marches and protests will end up on TV. And for people that were black and white, a lot of jobs, if they saw you on TV protesting during your free time, during your personal time, they would fire you. And so image started to matter a lot more than it ever had because we had the ability to capture it and to share it with masses. And so social media has taken what newspaper and TV done and put it on steroids. Now, more than ever, not only can professional photographers and videographers catch you, anybody with a smartphone can catch you doing something that can completely sack and rattle your platform. Okay. And what's so interesting is a lot of times our leaders that even back in the day used to get caught in scandal and things. Think about Bill Clinton. Like, let's think about this. Think about Bill Clinton getting caught up with the woman in the White House and that scandal and how crazy that was. There was no social media then. Right? So think about that. Bill Clinton get caught up, no social media. It's only on TV. You only get reading newspapers and you're watching TV and they're giving you this information. Those are professional reporters that are cognizant that Bill Clinton is the president. They are very understanding of who the young lady is. And for a while they did a lot to hide her identity. There was a lot of, let's say, professional journalism that went on during that time. This not only kept the public from having all the information, it kept the people involved. It allowed them to kind of be on top and stay abreast of the narrative. And so they could respond, they could push, they could do the things possible to maintain their platform and power. Well, if that happened today, like that would be impossible for any president or any leader to maintain the narrative with TikTok and Snapchat and Instagram and Twitter. And it's impossible to control the narrative because once it's out there, anybody with an opinion on it gets to speak on it, and that can skew it any way it wants to go. Like anything like that gets reported, as soon as it's reported, it's off into the world, and social media takes it and they can mold it and they can form it and they can change it to what they want it to mean and say. And you can lose your platform and your narrative and leadership in so quick. It is crazy. I'm thinking about like Jonathan Majors just had this happen to him. He got caught up. He had an incident, and before his court, he was sentenced, and in 20 minutes, Marvel had cut him. That would not have happened in the 80s. That wouldn't have happened in the 90s. Like, think about some of the movie stars in the 80s and 90s and some of the stuff they were into and doing. Jonathan Majors got found guilty on 2 misdemeanor accounts that don't require jail time and lost his biggest role in Hollywood. When we know Hollywood is full of adulterers, Hollywood is full of drug addicts, Hollywood is full of people who do all types of things that you shouldn't be doing. But now it matters more what the public knows that you do ever than ever before. And so leadership has morphed now into, it used to be all about what you do, but now leadership has to be a lifestyle occupation. If you are going to put yourself out there as a leader, right? If you're going to say, I am a leader, I lead in this area. If it's politics or makeup, whatever it is, who you are factors 80-90% of that. 10% is what you do if you're good at it. Like 10% is if you're good at it. 80 to 90% of it is who are you? And that is a complete flip of what it used to be. As we're on these platforms, like you're watching this on YouTube, like this is someone's platform. I can't say certain things on this platform. I can't do certain things on this platform because it's not my platform, right? And so the ideal that leaders have this understanding that you can get banned. Like you can get kicked off of YouTube. I don't know if people know that, but YouTube can't kick you off and say you can't post here anymore. We saw it with Donald Trump. He got kicked off of Twitter, got kicked off. Like you can get kicked off of these platforms. And as a leader in today's age, these platforms are the lifeblood of our leadership. And what I mean by that is it is almost unheard of now for anybody to have massive leadership roles, platforms, and influence without a social media presence. Like, even if you don't post all the time, you don't like There are some people that have millions of followers that post once a month, once every 3-6 months, whatever. But they post and they're accessible and they don't even, a lot of times they don't even run it, but they have it. And so, and the reason they have it is everybody understands people today more than ever need to be able to touch you and relate to you to follow you. Where that was not necessarily true all the time. That actually has never been true before now. Like the idea that if I'm going to follow you, I want to know who you are. I want to know what you think about this. I want to know how you respond to this. That's a new ideal. And that's why it's so interesting to aspire to lead today, is because it requires so much more of you than it ever had. Now, on the flip side, one of the benefits is you don't necessarily have to do as much to be considered a leader. And so what I mean by that is there was a time where, let's just keep it a buck. You had to kill somebody, right? Like there was a time where the people that were leaders were the ones that was killing people and taking over villages, killing people, taking over cities or countries or towns. Those were the leaders, right? People that had gore, had blood, that had sweat, that had tears. You were considered a leader if that was you, or you thought so differently than everyone else that, I'm talking about everybody else in your area, in the region, in the world. You had to be a singular thinker to become a leader. You think it's like, I think of Spartacus, right? That's 300. It's a great movie. And like Jesus, right? Like in Sparta, why is the 300 famous? Because they killed people, right? Like ain't nothing else about it. The people in Sparta are famous is because they were warriors. And that is what leadership looked like. Jesus is famous because he is a singular thinker. Nobody has ever thought like Jesus, okay? They thought some of the things Jesus thought, but not all of the things Jesus thought. And today, you don't even have to have your own thought, let alone have a thought that's unique to the world. You just have to have a thought and be consistent in portraying that thought, and you can gain a following and become a leader. And so the originality of leadership is gone, okay? The uniqueness of leadership is gone. And the ideal of excellence in leadership is for the most part gone, right? Like creating content, you don't have to do it with excellence to become a leader. You just have to do it a lot of times consistently. You have to be outrageous enough. You have to be productive enough, right? And you can gain a following. You can even gain a cult-like following. I think of people that are, I would say their talents are not easily displayed. I think that's the kindest way to say it. And you look at their lives and you're like, what are they good at? Yet they have millions of followers. They're always on your feed and they're doing very well for themselves. That ideal didn't exist in history outside of those who were beautiful people by beauty standards, right? And so people that the standards of the day considered beautiful, male and female, could become pretty famous based on their appearance. But even that at some part is a little bit of a talent. Like to maintain beauty, stay in shape, those things do require at least something. But there's a lot of people who are famous for nothing, and have platforms for nothing. But the question today isn't. So I think the question used to be, can you get a platform to talk about? Like that's what. So we did an episode on Malcolm X. One of the biggest reasons he fell out with the nation is Malcolm wanted a platform and the nation didn't have it. And so doing news, like being on the TV, doing interviews with reporters, like those things, the nation didn't do. They didn't want to do that. They were supposed to be in the shadows working with communities. Malcolm wanted a platform and the nation didn't have it, and it caused a rift and ultimately his demise. The question today isn't, can you get a platform? Like the question today is, what are you going to do with it if you get it? And too often, I think we're not asking that question of ourselves. We're not thinking about that. We are chasing platforms, not understanding the responsibility that comes with it. And so today I want to talk about, what does leading today look like? And how do we do it in a way that is, I would say, honoring to the game of leadership? As an athlete, as a coach, as a player, I always talk about like, hey man, don't cheat the game. Like, don't cheat the game. Like, if you're going to play, do it with excellence and do it well. Don't cheat the game. Leadership is a game as well. And how do we do it without cheating it? And the reason that you want to do it without cheating it is just as quickly as you can climb, you can fall if you're not playing the game well. If you're not playing the game with according to the rules. Because even though leadership has changed, there are still some rules that we have to follow to not get a platform. You can always get a platform, but to maintain one and to be effective with one. I was reading this thing. I follow content creation as well, like leadership content creation. You see, I'm on here. I follow it, and I remember there was they were talking about being a brand ambassador, and they were saying there are two types of content creators. There are those, well, not only two types, but they're not only two types, but there are two types of content creators. There are those with millions of followers who cannot get people to buy anything. I remember reading this article. It was this girl. She wanted to start a clothing brand. She had 3 million followers. She needed to sell 100 shirts, t-shirts. I think it was t-shirts or outfits or whatever. She could not sell 100 outfits with 3 million followers. Think about that. She couldn't mobilize 3 million people to buy 100 items. Where there's other content creators who have 10,000 followers who can mobilize all 10,000 to buy a product. And so you can have a platform and still not be effective in wielding it. Okay. So let's talk about how do you lead in this climate that is very, very tuned in to who you are. So your mission got to be solid. Your life got to look like what you're doing. Your past is going to get brought up, and your future is always hanging on by a thread. All leaders today, I think that's one of the biggest differences that social media has done is like it used to be you were a leader until you died. Like once you were crowned a leader, you were a leader until you died. Even if you became crazy, it'd be like, there go that crazy leader over there. Right? Like, we just don't be listening to him no more, but we respect and understand he is a leader. She is a leader. Today, you can be a leader until you're not. Until the masses have agreed, we no longer listen to you. You go somewhere in the darkness. We don't know you exist anymore. And that is, I would say that's a little scary as a leader. It is a little scary if you are unsure of who you are and who you serve. I think if you are cemented in who you're leading and why you're doing it, you can be pretty content with whatever social media tries to throw at you when it concerning your platforming. Okay. Let's talk about leading in this climate. Okay. Leading today is 5 things. So I hope you stuck around. You're about to get 5 things today that leadership requires. Okay, these are the 5 things. Leadership requires intention. It requires integrity. It requires transparency. It requires clarity, and it requires passion. So I'm going to run through those again. It requires intention, integrity, transparency, clarity, passion. Okay, those are 5 things required to lead with excellence today. Let's talk through them. Intention. A lot of times we mix up going viral with having a platform. More people go viral than want to every day of the week. And those who want to go viral, sometimes don't know what to do when they do. To get a platform, keep it, and to use it effectively, you have to know why you're doing what you're doing. Intention. You have to be intentional. Right now, I'm being very intentional in building my platform and my group of people, right? I'm being very intentional in calling it crew excellence and saying we are all leaders and we're chasing excellence and this is what we do here and this is how we do it. I am being very intentional because what I don't want is to build a platform, to build an audience, a community that doesn't know why they're there. That doesn't know why they exist, right? Because what can happen is you can pivot with the right audience. You can pivot with the right community because we know why we're here and how we got there. When you don't have an audience when you build an audience on accident, when you change, which we all do, all people change, that audience will not come with you. Okay? That community will not come with you. You will lose your platform. And that can be scary because as you change, you cannot want to change what you're doing because you're so afraid of losing the platform and you end up stuck. Okay? And I think that's the worst place to be as a leader is to be stuck in a box that you no longer want to be in. Okay? And so intention is important. Why are you building this platform? If it's for bread, if you just like, hey, I know this is a way to make money, cool. But be intentional. Make money the best way. Be efficient in the way you know what I'm saying? Study brand deals. Study being an ambassador. Study how you convert and monetize. Like, if this is what your goal is, then that's cool. But understand that those are the type of people you're going to attract. You're going to attract people who just want to make money. You're going to attract people that just want to monetize. And if you pivot from that, you're going to lose a lot of them. Okay? Like, that's the ideal behind intention. Integrity. You got to be who you say you are. Okay? It is commonplace now to make fun of those who aren't who they say they are. We talk about people all the time. It is a legitimate business right now to own a plane that never flies. You buy a private plane and you rent it out for photo shoots because people get in there and act like they fly private and they don't. You don't got to use gas. All you have to do is clean the plane. That's all you got to do. It's a private plane and it's your plane and people come take pictures in it because they're faking. And you can build a platform faking for so long. Eventually, someone is going to find out you are not who you say you are and they going to tell everybody. And at that point, poof, vamoose, there goes your influence. Okay. And so I think today requires integrity. I didn't use the word morality because that is subjective, okay? But integrity is objective. Integrity is you are who you say you are, regardless of who's watching. I think that's the thing that has maintained Donald Trump's influence and platform. I think everyone on both sides agrees he's not that great of a human being. But what everyone also agrees is he tells the truth of how he feels. He is not going to sugarcoat. He's going to be straightforward. This is what he thinks. This is how he feels. That has capital today, right? That can build you a ton of capital with an audience, with a community. Transparency. More now than ever, the behind the scenes. We want to see what it look like when you get to the shoot. We want to see you get your hair done. We want to see you get in the car, go to the grocery store. We want to see how you are at home, who you are with your kids, how you are with your spouse. We want to see all these things. I pull up, I'm on Instagram, I'm follow you. I want to see your story and what you did today. Right? I want to see you hop on live and talk to us and have those things are super important today. Right? The moment that a community or audience feels like you're hiding something, the moment they'll start to pull back or they won't follow with as much vigor. You won't be able to mobilize or influence in the same capacity if you aren't transparent, right? Like I've been this way my whole life. I'm an open book. You ask me anything, I'm gonna be honest, and that's who I've always been because I'm not afraid of nobody. It is what it is. But some people. You cannot be afraid of people finding out things about you that are true. That's a gem. You know what I'm saying? You can't be afraid of people finding out things about you that are true. So you might as well tell them. You might as well be transparent. And transparency is different than honesty. Honesty is you telling the truth when you're asked. Transparency is you willingly telling the truth when no one has asked you. Okay? So transparency is super important. Clarity is important. Tell people what they're here for. Okay? What you're doing, what you're building, where you're going. I love channels that talk about how much money they making. I love people that talk about how their life is changing. I love people that talk about when they're struggling. Like, I follow Kev on stage. He always talks about, man, hey, this didn't work. It looked like, I know you'll think I'm always successful. Everything, I did this, it didn't work. I wasted a lot of money and a lot of time. It didn't work. Those kind of things, that kind of clarity on top of the things before can tell an audience, can clearly see you for who you are and what your platform is. Okay. And that's one reason why I always respond to every comment. Because I want you all to be very clear on what this is, on what the ladder is, on what the Hope Institute is, on who Justin Strickland is. Like, I want it to be very clear on what we're building here so that you know if you want to stay or not. I don't want to trick anyone to being part of Crew Excellence. Okay. I don't want to bamboozle or swindle you into joining this community. I want you to know exactly what we're here for and be clear on why you want to be a part of it and belong. Okay. And the last thing is passion. You got to really love what you're doing to lead in today's environment, because it is exhausting to post every day. It is exhausting to engage with comments. It is exhausting to always be on your P's and Q's. It is exhausting to always be at the cliff's edge of losing your influence, of losing your platform. It is exhausting. And if you're not passionate about it, you will give up and quit. Okay? We see it all the time. People call it burnout. All that burnout is I used to love this. These other things have happened. I don't love it no more. You gotta love this. I was just on the phone today with a young lady that plays ball, and she wants to play professionally. And I was telling her, we talked for about an hour, and I said maybe 100 times, if you don't love it, you will quit. If you don't want to play professional basketball as bad as you think you do, you will quit. You will waste time. You will waste money. You have to really, really, really love this. Okay? You gotta love it. And it's the same with leadership. You gotta love it. You gotta absolutely adore it. And that's why you build your platform around, you build your leadership around what you actually love and enjoy. I'm here because I absolutely, positively, 100% love teaching leaders. I love developing people. I love pushing others towards excellence. That is why I'm here. And I do it for free every single day off camera. I do it for free. I've been doing it for free for like 30 years, y'all. This is who I am, and this is who I would be with or without y'all knowing me on YouTube. So that's why I can show up every day. That's why I can talk for 30, 40 minutes about these things, because I love it. I love it. It is what I want to do. And so that is required if you're going to lead in today's climate, because you will get burnt out way quicker than ever in human history because of the amount of human interaction and the amount of visibility that you have today as a leader. Okay? All right. I'm going to go over it again. 5 things required for leadership, and I'm going to get out your hair because I thought today's episode was fire. I talk today. Sometimes I just be talking, and you know what I'm saying? We be hanging out. Today, y'all learned something. I was teaching today. 5 things that leadership requires today: intention, integrity, transparency, clarity, and passion. If you have all 5, knock it out the park, bro. You can hit home runs with this thing, okay? I'm your fearless leader, your favorite Crew Excellence member. Ask your mama and your auntie, and they will tell you, hey, they love you, but I come first, all right? And I can't wait to see y'all next week, man. It's your boy, Justin Strickland, the hostess with the mostest of the Ladder Podcast, presented by the Hope Institute, and I'm out. Peace. Crew Excellence, another great episode. I'm so honored to be leading the journey you're on. And I just want to let you know, this is what we're building here. We're building a community and an audience and a family that pursues excellence together. And if you want to be part of that family, right, this content's free. You can keep coming over here every Friday, catching a podcast, but we have so much more. First of all, if you join Crew Excellence, you get the podcast on Thursday. Yup, 24 hours early. Second thing, you get part of our private group where we talk about leadership every single day. You get Motivation Monday. You get discounts on merch. Okay. And anytime we have an event, you get first dibs on tickets. So I think that being a part of this community is amazing. There's definitely different levels to it, but hey, If you just watching and you say that ain't for me yet, cool. I appreciate you. Keep watching. Like, comment, subscribe. But if you want to go deeper and you want to be more of a part of a community that loves each other and that pushes each other to be their best self, go ahead, head over to the website, join Crew Excellence. It's a membership site on the site. You can join it and then you get entered right into the community, plugged in. Hey, it's dope over there. I'm talking about fire. You missing out. But hey, I love y'all for whatever you do and however you are a part of Crew Excellence. And I can't wait till next week. Please watch another video. If you missed the episode, tune in because they all fire. All right, man. It's the host who's the most, your favorite Crew Excellence member, and I'm out. Peace.